Welcome to Bible in a Year with Scott Purcell. I'm so glad you're joining me. This is a daily reading of portions of the Bible, following a plan that will include the entire Bible in a year. And now, let's open the book and begin our readings. This is the reading for day 58. If your reading is aligned with the calendar year, this is for February 27. The Old Testament reading is from Leviticus chapters 1, 2, and 3. Leviticus 1. Then Yahweh called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of assembly, saying, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when a person from you presents an offering to Yahweh, you shall present your offering from domestic animals, from the cattle or from the flock. If his offering is a burnt offering from the cattle, then he must present an unblemished male. He must present it at the door of the tent of assembly for his acceptance before Yahweh. He must lay his hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it will be accepted for him in order to make atonement for him. He must slaughter the young bull before Yahweh. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, will present the blood and sprinkle the blood all around the altar that is at the door of the tent of assembly. Then he must remove the skin of the burnt offering and cut it into its pieces. The sons of Aaron the priest will put fire on the altar and arrange the wood on the fire. Then Aaron's sons, the priests, will arrange the pieces of meat, the head and the suet, on the wood that is on the fire that is on the altar. Then he must wash its inner parts and its lower leg bones with water, and the priest will turn into smoke the whole animal on the altar as a burnt offering by fire, as an appeasing fragrance for Yahweh. But if his offering is from the flock, from the sheep or from the goats for a burnt offering, he must present an unblemished male. He must slaughter it on the north side of the altar before Yahweh. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, will sprinkle its blood all around the altar. Then he must cut it into pieces along with its head and its suet. And the priest will arrange them on the wood that is on the fire that is on the altar. Then he must wash the inner parts and the lower leg bones with water, and the priest shall present the whole animal and will turn it into smoke on the altar. It is a burnt offering by fire, as an appeasing fragrance for Yahweh. But if his offering for Yahweh is a burnt offering from the birds, then he must present his offering from the turtle doves or from the young doves. The priest will present it at the altar and must wring off its head and turn it into smoke on the altar, and its blood will be drained out on the wall of the altar. He must remove its crop with its plumage and throw it to the east beside the altar on the place of the fatty ashes. Then he must tear it apart by its wings, but must not sever it. Then the priest will turn it into smoke on the altar, on the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering by fire, as an appeasing fragrance for Yahweh. Leviticus 2. When a person brings a grain offering to Yahweh, his offering must be finely milled flour, and he must pour out oil on it and place frankincense on it. And he shall bring it to the sons of Aaron, the priests, and he shall take his handful from its finely milled flour and from its oil, in addition to all its frankincense. The priest shall turn its token portion into smoke on the altar as an offering made by fire, as an appeasing fragrance for Yahweh. The remainder of the grain offering belongs to Aaron and his sons. It is a most holy thing from the offerings made by fire for Yahweh. But if you bring a grain offering of something oven-baked, it must be of finely milled flour, as ring-shaped unleavened bread mixed with oil, or wafers of unleavened bread smeared with oil. If your offering is a grain offering baked on a flat baking pan, it must be finely milled flour, unleavened bread mixed with oil. Break it into pieces and pour oil on it. It is a grain offering. If your offering is a grain offering prepared in a cooking pan, it must be with finely milled flour in oil. And you shall bring the grain offering that is made from these things to Yahweh, and the offerer shall bring it to the priest, and he shall bring it to the altar. And the priest shall take away from the grain offering its token portion, and he shall turn it into smoke on the altar as an offering made by fire, as an appeasing fragrance for Yahweh. And the remainder of the grain offering belongs to Aaron and to his sons. It is a most holy thing from the offerings made by fire for Yahweh. Every grain offering you bring to Yahweh must not be made of yeasted food, because you must not turn into smoke any yeast or any honey from an offering made by fire for Yahweh. As an offering of the choicest portion, you may bring them to Yahweh, but they must not be offered on the altar as an appeasing fragrance. Also, all of your grain offerings you must season with salt. You must not omit the salt of your God's covenant from your offering. With all your offerings you shall present salt. And if you bring to Yahweh a grain offering of first fruits, you must bring an ear of new grain roasted by fire, coarsely crushed ripe grain as the grain offering of your first fruits. And you shall put oil on it and place frankincense on it. It is a grain offering. The priest shall turn into smoke its token portion from its coarsely crushed grain and from its oil together with all of its frankincense. It is an offering made by fire for Yahweh. Leviticus 3. Now, if his offering is a sacrifice of fellowship offering, if he brings it from the cattle, whether male or female, he must bring it without defect before Yahweh. He must lay his hand on the head of his offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of assembly. And Aaron's sons the priest shall sprinkle the blood on the altar all around. He shall present from the sacrifice of the fellowship offering an offering made by fire for Yahweh, consisting of the fat covering the inner parts, and all the fat that is on the inner parts, the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is on the loins, and he must remove the lobe of the liver in addition to the kidneys. Aaron's sons shall turn it to smoke on the altar in addition to the burnt offering that is on the wood, which is on the fire. It is an offering made by fire as an appeasing fragrance for Yahweh. But if his offering for a sacrifice of fellowship offering for Yahweh is from the flock, he must bring a male or a female without defect. If he brings a sheep as his offering, he shall present it before Yahweh. And he shall lay his hand on the head of his offering, he shall slaughter it before the tent of assembly, and Aaron's sons shall sprinkle its blood on the altar all around. He shall present from the sacrifice of the fellowship offering an offering made by fire for Yahweh. He must remove its fat, the entire fat tail near the tailbone, and the fat covering the inner parts, and all the fat that is on the inner parts, the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is on the loins, and he must remove the lobe on the liver in addition to the kidneys. The priest shall turn it into smoke on the altar as a food offering made by fire for Yahweh. And if his offering is a goat, then he shall bring it before Yahweh. And he shall lay his hand on the head of his offering, and he shall slaughter it before the tent of assembly, and Aaron's sons shall sprinkle its blood on the altar all around. He shall present his offering from it as an offering made by fire for Yahweh. The fat covering the inner parts, and all the fat that is on the inner parts, the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is on the loins, and he must remove the lobe on the liver in addition to the kidneys. The priest shall turn them into smoke on the altar as a food offering. All the fat is an offering made by fire as an appeasing fragrance for Yahweh. This is a lasting statute for your generations in all your dwellings. You must not eat any fat or any blood. The New Testament reading is from Mark chapter 9, beginning with verse 33, through Mark chapter 10, verse 12. Mark 9:33. And they came to Capernaum. And after he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you discussing on the way?" But they were silent, because they had argued with one another on the way about who was greatest. And he sat down and called the 12, and said to them, "If anyone wants to be first, he will be last of all and servant of all." And he took a young child and had him stand among them. And taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of the young children such as these in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me." John said to him, "Teacher, we saw someone expelling demons in your name, and we tried to prevent him because he was not following us." But Jesus said, "Do not prevent him, because there is no one who does a miracle in my name and will be able soon afterward to speak evil of me. For whoever is not against us is for us. For whoever gives you a cup of water to drink in my name because you are Christ's, truly I say to you that he will never lose his reward. And whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it is better for him if instead a large millstone is placed around his neck and he is thrown into the sea. And if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having two hands to go to hell, into the unquenchable fire. And if your foot causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life lame than having 2 feet to be thrown into hell. And if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out. It is better for you to enter into the kingdom of God with 1 eye than having 2 eyes to be thrown into hell, where their worm does not die and the fire is not extinguished. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes deprived of its salt content, by what can you make it salty? Have salt among yourselves, and be at peace with one another. Mark chapter 10. And from there he set out and came to the region of Judea and the other side of the Jordan. And again crowds came together to him. And again, as he was accustomed to do, he began to teach them. And they asked him if it was permitted for a man to divorce his wife in order to test him. And he answered and said to them, "What did Moses command you?" So they said, "Moses permitted a man to write a certificate of divorce and to send her away." But Jesus said to them, "He wrote this commandment for you because of your hardness of heart. But from the beginning of creation, he made them male and female. Because of this, a man will leave his father and mother and will be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh, so that they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, man must not separate." And in the house again the disciples began to ask him about this. And he said to them, "Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery." The wisdom literature reading is from Psalm 27, verses 1 through 6. Psalm 27:1. Of David. Yahweh is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Yahweh is the refuge of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers drew near against me to eat my flesh, my adversaries and my enemies who drew near to me, they themselves stumbled and fell. Though an army encamp against me, my heart will not fear. Though war rise against me, even in this I will remain confident. One thing I have asked from Yahweh, and it I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of Yahweh all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Yahweh, and to consider his temple. Because he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me in the hiding place of his tent. He will set me high upon a rock. And now my head will be high over my enemies round about me, and I will offer in his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to Yahweh. This concludes the reading for day 58. Thank you for listening. These daily readings are made possible by your generous support of the Global Outreach Ministry of Scott Purcell. To partner with us and enable this work and others like it, please visit huttobible.com/give and select Go Pastor Support from the fund list. You can also sign up for ministry updates at scott-purcell.epistle.org/subscribe. Both of those links can be found in the podcast description. Thank you for helping us share God's Word.